Welcome back everyone, I'm Eric from Rare Candy, and here today we're going to be going over our very first Battle Styles deck profile, and what a better way to do that than with one of the new Urshifu VMAX cards. We're going to be taking a look at the Single Strike Urshifu, definitely going to be probably the heavier hitting out of the two that we are going to be getting in this set. And if you are a fan of the Single Strike Urshifu VMAX deck, definitely stay tuned to the channel. We have a live match being posted in the coming days. So whenever that video does go up, I will have a link down below in the description so you can get caught up on that video as well. And also too, I've been showing a lot of love to this deck over on our Patreon. The other week I posted a deck building walkthrough, just taking you through my deck building process for a lot of these early archetypes. I did one for Single Strike Urshifu, and also today I just dropped a bonus article for Stage 2 patrons where they get access to some of my different tech cards and different deck building options that I might want to include in some of my Single Strike Urshifu lists. So if you want to learn more about that and help support this channel in the process, I will have a link down below in the description for you to check that one out as well. But without wasting any more time, let's hop into the actual deck. So to kick things off, we have 4 copies of Single Strike Urshifu VMAX. And unlike a lot of the base form, this is the V, not the VMAX, but unlike a lot of the base form Vs, Single Strike Urshifu is actually kind of decent. Has the laser focus attack for a fighting energy. You search your deck for up to 2 fighting energies and attach them to your Urshifu. So a lot of times if you're going second, this can be kind of a nice attack, kind of like Flare Starter that we've seen on Volcanion and other similar styles of Pokemon. So this can be good if you are going second. And also does have an attack for 2 fighting and the colorist is 180, and then it can't use this attack on your next turn. Or actually, I believe this Pokemon can't attack at all, not just this attack. Okay, no, it's just Impact Blow. So yeah, I got that a little confused there. So basically just Zacian V's side effect that it has for Brave Blade. So sometimes, believe it or not, this actually can be kind of a decent attack with 2 of the new Single Strike energies. We can one-shot opposing Zacian V's and other base form Pokemon V. So Impact Blow sometimes surprisingly decent, what I have experienced with this deck. But of course, the main star of the show here is going to be 4 copies of Urshifu VMAX, the Single Strike one. So this guy has 2 different attacks. The first one for 3 colorless energy does 100, nothing too special. We don't play triple acceleration energy or anything like that. So, this really isn't an attack we're building around. But the second attack is really where things get interesting. For 3 fighting and a colorist is 270. You discard all energy attached to Single Strike Urshifu VMAX. But then the damage goes through any effects on your opponent's active. So meaning, even if they have something like a Zamazenta V or a Decidueye, you're going to be able to cut through those damage blocking effects that they would have. So very, very strong secondary attack. And this is going to be sort of the main way we're going to be building around this card. But the math on this is really great. 270 is going to one-shot any of the tag teams save for ADP. But with a Single Strike energy, we can easily modify our damage to take those one-shots whenever we do need them. So the big downside to this card, though, is Psychic Weakness. That's one thing we are going to have to be on the lookout for. But also, too, we have to discard our energy every time we want to use this heavy-hitting secondary attack. So we need a way at recharging our Single Strike Urshifus, and that is going to be with the new Houndoom. So of course we have 4 copies of Houndoom. I don't think there is a better one to play in the format if I'm not mistaken. And also we have 4 copies of Houndoom. So Houndoom, of course, is going to be the more important out of the 2 Pokemon, but it has this ability. You get to search your deck for a Single Strike energy, attach it to one of your Pokemon, and then put 2 damage counters on the Pokemon that you put the energy on. So this is how we are going to charge up our Urshifus throughout the course of a game. And as you can see, we're playing the very thick line of Houndoom, because if we want to charge up this second attack immediately after we use this, we're going to need 3 Houndooms in play. So that's why we are maxing this thing out at the maximum 4/4 count in this deck. We want to get as many of these things into play as possible to ensure that we can always be attacking whenever we want to. So that's going to be the core of the engine, but we do have some support Pokemon as well. We have 1 copy of Crobat V for that Dark Asset ability. We get to draw until we have 6 cards in our hand whenever we play Crobat down. But then we also have 1 copy of Jirachi Gx as well. So we're going to be playing Dedenne here for the Dede Change ability. We just discard our hand, draw 6. We really don't have too many open bench spots in this deck, so that's why we're not playing like some other different support Pokemon that can draw us cards, or like a thicker line of these sorts of Pokemon. Usually we really are probably only going to play like one in a game, sometimes two if you really need to dig for like a certain knockout. But yeah, we want to kind of use these guys sparingly if possible. But we also have one copy of Jirachi Gx. This is one of the few techs that I am playing in this iteration of the list. So Jirachi has this ability that shuts off all psychic weaknesses in play. So this is good at making our Urshifu's tank a little bit harder against things like Mewtwo Mew or Mad Party or Dragapult VMAX, just as a few examples. This is a tech, I should say I usually don't go too overboard on my techs in some of these early lists, but Psychic Weaknesses kind of bad, so this is one of the few techs I am committing space for, but this is definitely a card that could go out of the list in future iterations of this deck. Just kind of remains to be seen what the meta is going to be looking like, but right now I feel like Jirachi is kind of a safe inclusion here. Then the only other Pokemon is going to be one copy of Mew for the Bench Barrier ability. So we are playing this to prevent our Houndooms from being sniped by things like Cramorant V, Tagbolt GX from Pikarom, or probably, I think, more notably, the new Rapid Strike Urshifu VMAX. Like, if Rapid Strike Urshifu goes first, they attach an energy. Next turn, they evolve, attach their Rapid Strike energy, and then they can knock out 2 Houndours. That's going to be really bad. It's really hard to really make it through a game without your Houndoom. So Mew's going to be very nice at making sure these guys can't get sniped. But that's going to be the entire Pokemon line, guys. Like I said, not a whole lot of bells and whistles. We really want most of our bench space to be devoted just to these guys here. Up from there, we have 4 copies of Professor's Research. Of course, discard our hand and draw 7. We also have 4 copies of Marnie, so just a very standard draw engine in this deck. Marnie, of course, both players shuffle their hands, put them at the bottom of their deck. You draw 5, your opponent draws 4, so just a little bit of disruption, and also we don't have to discard our hand. And then from there, to round out our supporter cards, we just have 3 copies of Boss's Orders to choose what we want to take knockouts on. We're fighting types, that's really good. That makes Boss's Orders a little bit better in our deck than a lot of decks, just because a lot of Pokemon like Dedenne and Crobat are going to be weak to us, and it's going to be pretty easy for us to pick off some of those bench Pokemon. So yeah, Boss Orders, just generally good in every deck, but especially since we are fighting type. But going on from there, we also have 2 copies of the new Tower of Darkness. It's the new Single Strike Stadium. You discard a Single Strike card from your hand and draw 2 cards. So just gives us a little bit of extra draw power. And one thing that's nice is it doesn't specify Pokemon, which means that we can actually discard any Single Strike card, even cards like Tower of Darkness or some of the other trainer cards that we have. So if you already have this one in play, if you draw into your next one, you can just discard that one and keep drawing cards. That way you can save some of your Pokemon if you do want to. So again, just another way we can dig through our deck, especially since, like I said, we don't really want a lot of these bench sitters and play like Dedenne or Crobat. This can be an alternate way at digging through our deck a little bit more aggressively without filling up our bench space with these guys. Next up, we have 4 copy of Quick Ball, just to discard a card from hand, get a basic Pokemon. You guys are probably plenty familiar with this one by now. Definitely our best search card in the format. Up next from there, though, we have 3 copies of Pokemon Communication. So, of course, we can put a Pokemon back from our hand back into our deck, get a different one. So, this is going to allow us to search out those Houndooms, those Single Strike Urshifu VMAXs. It's mainly for our evolutions, but of course, it's still good in the early portions of the game at finding those basic Pokemon as well. And then from there, we have 1 copy of Evolution Incense, sort of taking the 4th spot of Pokemon Communication. Just be told, I would actually like more of these just because we really want to swarm so many of these evolutions into play. And a lot of times, if you find yourself with 2 Pokemon Communications in hand, you usually can only use 1 in my experience. So I'm playing the Evolution Incense instead of the 4th Calm just because I would much rather have a Calm and Evolution Incense than 2 Pokemon Communications, if that makes any sense. Especially if we don't already have a Pokemon in play, we can use Evolutions in conjunction with Pokemon Communication to find the Pokemon that we actually want. Next up, we have 2 copies of Switch. Our Single Strike Urshifus are a little bit clunky. They have the 3 retreat cost. Houndoom also has a 2 retreat, so a lot of the stuff in this deck does retreat kind of awkwardly. But we do have 2 copies of Air Balloon as well, just to reduce our retreat cost by 2. So plenty of ways at moving our Pokemon around. These cards are especially good on turn 1, like if we're going second. That way we can try to move a Houndour out of play or whatever it might be to be able to use Laser Focus with our Single Strike Urshifu V. Next up from there, we have 3 copies of Vitality Jar. This is going to be another new Single Strike card. We get to shuffle 2 Single Strike energies from discard back into our deck. And that's actually really important because single strike energies are kind of the lifeblood of our deck. We are reliant on accelerating them into play with our Hound Dooms. And this is a card that I have sort of gone back and forth between a 4th count and a 3 count. I think you genuinely only need 3 in a single game to win, because more than likely you're just going to attack twice, maybe 3 times at most. So you really shouldn't need these more than 3 times over the course of a game. I do like a 4th one just in case of prizing issues or having to research a hand and not being able to use it, stuff like that. So a 4th copy definitely could make its way back into this list. That was definitely sort of a hard cut I've had to make, but this is definitely a card I could easily see increasing to a 4th count just in case of those bad prizes or some of those situations I just outlined. And from there, just to round out our trainer cards, we have 2 of the new Single Strike Scroll Raging Scroll cards. So these are kind of unique Pokemon tool cards. You attach them to your Single Strike Pokemon and they gain an extra attack. In the case of this one, it's just 1 fighting energy and it does 10 plus 10 more damage for every damage counter on the Pokemon this is attached to. So ideally the play that you want to be able to make with this is you power up your Urshifu VMAX, you nuke your opponent, discard all of your energy. Next turn they attack into you. And instead of having to charge up this damaged Urshifu, you can attach this tool card and then start powering up your next Urshifu, and then just ideally take another big knockout with only a single fighting energy. So this is a card that I feel like you really only need 1 of throughout the course of a game, but we're playing 2 because a lot of times you want this card on turn 3. And if you're only playing 1 card or 1 count of it, it can be kind of hard to make that happen. So we're playing the 2 count. And if we don't need the extra copy, again, we can always toss that away with Tower of Darkness if we do need to. Going on to our energy, we have 4 copies of Fighting Energy in the deck. Of course, we do want some basic fighting energies to abuse Laser Focus. As long as that is going to be a play we want to make with this deck, we do need some copies of basic energies. But that being said, we do have 4 copies of the new Single Strike Energy, definitely one of the most important cards in the deck. It's kind of like the old Strong Energy, but this time it's only for Single Strike Pokemon. And when it's attached to a Single Strike Pokemon, it provides a Dark or Fighting Energy, and then your attacks do 20 more damage to your opponent's active. So this means that with these things, we can actually scale Single Strike Urshifu VMAX's damage output to even one-shot Pokemon VMAX. So that's actually pretty impressive. So 1 energy is 290, 2 is 310, 330, 350. So if we have all these in play, we can knock out basically any Pokemon outside like a buff padding Colossal VMAX or something like that. But we still have a couple more energies left. We have 1 copy of Stone Fighting Energy in the deck. So that's another special sort of fighting energy, but this time it's going to reduce the damage to our fighting Pokemon by 20. So, I mean, sometimes that can be nice. You know, we are putting damage counters on ourselves with Hound Doom, so we do sort of need to be careful about what our HP is going to be looking like at times. So stone fighting can be nice. Truth be told, if we weren't ever going to abuse Laser Focus, I think we would cut our basic fightings, play 4 of these, and, you know, have much more tank ability. But again, as long as Laser Focus is an attack we plan on using, I think we have to play some copies of basic fighting. So I would like more copies of Stone Fighting. I just don't think it's going to happen right now. And to round out our energy, we have 1 copy of Capture Energy as well. Just because Single Strike Urshifu does have 1 colorless energy and its attack cost, Capture Energy seems pretty good for a deck like this. Of course, just provides a colorless energy, but whenever we attach it, we get search our deck for a basic Pokemon, put it onto our bench. You know, we are a deck that is relying on swarming a lot of these Houndooms into play. So anytime we can get down an extra Pokemon on the field is going to be much appreciated. So it's really not a whole lot of energy in total, only 10, but again, we have the 3 Vitality Jar in the deck, which effectively gives us 16 energy. So I think that should be plenty to close out a game. And that's going to wrap up our look at Single Strike Urshifu. So like I said, guys, we have a lot of content planned for this right now. There is going to be a live match being posted in the next couple days. So again, keep your eyes peeled to that description section for whenever that video does go live. Or just to make things easier, just subscribe to the channel, ring that bell for notifications. That way you'll be notified when that comes out, and also the rest of our Battle Styles content. And like I said earlier as well, if you are itching for more Single Strike Urshifu content, I do have a bonus article for our Stage 2 patrons that goes over some of the techs and other deck building options that I might want to include in future iterations of this list as well. Link to that will also be down below in the description. That's going to be it today, guys. I hope you did enjoy this deck profile. Of course, if you did, like, subscribe, ring that notification bell, all that good stuff. And if you can, consider supporting this channel by becoming a patron, like I already mentioned, or pick up some merch from our online store, rarecandytcg.com. It would mean a lot. But as always, thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.